Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where I am reimagining the Kingdom of Hyrule within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Of course, you know if you played Wind Waker, you know that all the islands of the Great Sea are actually the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never got to really explore Hyrule, just a small portion of it around the castle. So this 3D modeling fan art project is all about reimagining that world that we never got to see, that world that we so desperately wanted to explore, and now finally can. Thanks to the power of 3D modeling, this is Wind Waker Unflooded. I am your host. You can call me Joe. You can call me Wind Waker Hyrule, Wind Waker Unflooded Man. I go by many names, but yeah, I'm excited to work on this episode. We're back in Hyrule Castle Town. The greatest challenge of this project so far. There have been several challenges, right? I mean, there's so many. And I love that. That energizes me about this project, is there's so many things to balance and figure out, and it's really intellectually stimulating, of course, because it's not just a map project, it's not just aesthetics that you're balancing, but it's all of these world and lore decisions, trying to figure out the history of this world, how it connects to Ocarina of Time, and how it connects as a prologue to the Wind Waker, because this is all happening, like as a note, timeline-wise. I'm setting this world as if it's Hyrule right before the Great Flood. That's guiding my creative decisions. Hyrule right before the events of the Wind Waker took place, as if it's existing during the prologue to that game. And it's been so fun to figure out lore and ask questions and interact with the community and just talk about, like have an excuse just to talk about these games again, through the lens of an art project, right? That's one of the main reasons I do this, is just to have an excuse to talk about Zelda and talk about it with y'all and theorize and just enjoy this series that we share this love for. But anyway, we're working on some botanical gardens for Hyrule Castle Town. This is something that I just thought would be a nice way of, adding, how do I put it? Adding functionality to the city. That's something I talked about in some of my previous Castle Town videos, is that everything I add there, I want to really speak to the way that someone might live in the Castle Town, right? You have the opera house, they would enjoy the theater, right? There's the bathhouse, there's the museum, and you can imagine someone spending their time in the city. There's the market, right? There's these, it's not just things for the player to walk around and see, but these are things that a villager, a civilian, could experience. And I want to continue to develop this town with that in mind, and with culture in mind as well. Because I guess I've been imagining this is a place for Hylians, for Hyruleans, and the elite class of them, right? I say elite, right? But you know what I mean. This high class Hyrulean society, this is their culture. And maybe there's also a little bit of a melting pot as well. And I want to develop that. But it's the castle town. So it's all kind of, if there is diversity, it's being assimilated a little bit. These are all things I'm thinking about in the development of the town. And I want to just continue to think about how this could play into the gardens as well. And so here I've mainly just kind of been developing the terrain, figuring out the design of some of the general shapes. And there's a lot missing even when I end the video, spoiler alert, but this is a starting point where I just want to get some of your ideas as well. I know there's people that have left comments that are like, Joe, you never finish what you start in these videos, and of course not, it's a big project. But also sometimes it's because I want to start, work on an area, do a video on it so that I can gauge y'all's ideas before I continue to work on it, and that's what I'm doing here. I want to know some of y'all's ideas for the gardens. Because I don't think it's just a green space. This is a town, and it's a small town that's densely packed. I think they would be using every inch of it, right? And so it's not just a park, but there could be market stalls in the park, right? Maybe there's a stage in the park or an amphitheater. These are things that I think could be interesting. So I guess just comment down below any ideas that y'all have about just ways to make sure that there's functionality in this green space, and just any ideas y'all have for just continuing to give this world life. That is the goal of today, and for the comment section. I don't know, I'm always asking for feedback, so of course I'm asking for feedback specifically for the Castle Town Gardens, but of course in general y'all know that I always appreciate y'all's ideas and your positive and negative feedback. I want your criticism, I want your notes, And I want your approval, so feel free to comment down below any good things as well. But I just want to know what y'all think and just any ideas y'all have, because that directly informs what I work on next and the things that I include. And I'm sure that there's some of y'all that have commented down below different ideas, and then you've seen me work on those locations in the next video. So that totally informs the stuff that I work on, and I thank you for leaving comments. I think instead of doing a cut to my regularly scheduled commercial break, I think I'm just going to keep talking. This episode I'm choosing to. We're not doing that mid-roll commercial. And I'll summarize some of those points, right? Like, of course, like, I don't make any ad revenue on this channel. It's completely not monetized. If you saw an ad on the videos, because YouTube might be putting ads on the videos. They don't put ads on all my videos right away, but it seems like for this channel they have been putting ads on the videos. But that's not because I'm not making a cent from Wind Waker Unflooded. So if you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's totally some other meaningful ways that you can do it. So check the description below. Become a member on Patreon. I post exclusive content, bonus content, and early access content for especially a lot of my filmmaking projects. I'm an indie filmmaker, and that is, another way you can support me is by going to my main channel to watch those short films. Go to Spotify to listen to my music. I'm a composer. I make soundtrack style music. All of those are meaningful ways you can support me. Donate through Ko-fi, donate through Patreon. Those are the most meaningful ways. And I think everyone that has become a Patreon member already, that's so meaningful. And I thank you for being along for the ride. I also want to just kind of take this message to talk about, I just recently released a new short film on my main channel. And, just like I said, I'm an indie filmmaker. And if y'all want to see more of the stuff I do, I would love for y'all to go over and give that short film a watch. Give it a watch. I've talked about it a little bit on my community page, but just to talk about it in a video, just because I don't know how much of a crossover there is in interest, but I wanted to kind of explain to you the premise of it in case y'all were interested. And maybe you would go, you know what, like, that this has nothing to do with Zelda, but I am interested in your short film, Joe. I'll give it a watch. So I'm sure my main channel is there's a link in the description. But the idea of this newest short film, I just released one called Through Fire and Brimstone. And the premise is it's basically a countdown to the end of the world. I'm calling it an apocalyptic short film. And it's about this preacher, kind of in this, Christian evangelical style, who is preaching about the apocalypse, about these things that are written about in Revelation. And it's just about how this pastor's obsession with it becomes his ruin. And so it's kind of a cautionary tale about, like, when you are a preacher, you have such a duty to lead people, right? To be a leader. And this story is about someone that, their ego gets in the way. Their own demons, inform the way that they read scripture, the way that they preach. And suddenly it's not about trying to tell the truth anymore. It's not about trying to lead people. It's not about being a spiritual leader. It's their own ego. And maybe some other demons like grief or pride. And so that's the premise of the film. I don't want to say too much, but if that interests you, if you're interested in having some religious conversations, my faith is very important to me. And so that film just kind of came from a place of, like, it's so important to me, and I hate to see preachers that use religion to manipulate people, right? That use it as, and we're not going to get into that on the channel, but of course there's so much that is dangerous about the way that politics are wrapped up in religion in America. And there's so much that is just dangerous. And I want to encourage people to, think about, like, when you see these preachers, think about how much of it is actually biblical. And to do your own research and to read the books and think about the verses that they use, whether they're taken out of context. Something in my short film is that this preacher, has all of this whole apocalyptic message, but he doesn't cite scripture at all. It's just baited. It's based in his own ideas. It's not rooted in scripture at all. And so that's part of the subtext of the story as well. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of just like pitch it to y'all, see if y'all were interested in the project, and just kind of let you know the stuff that I'm working on in addition to this project. Wind Waker Unflooded is a big project. But, I guess, like, part of the reason that I can defend working on it for so long without getting much done is because I am working on other projects that I am getting done. Wind Waker Unflooded, I can keep chugging away at it in the background, and it may not have a whole lot of progress year after year because I'm working and finishing smaller projects, like my short films. And, eventually, like, Wind Waker Unflooded will be finished, and, like, progress is, like, steady and it's consistent. but it is something that like it may be a while until it's done. So be patient with the process, y'all. I want to encourage y'all. You know, I'm gonna keep working on it. I don't think we're even halfway done. And that's exciting. It's exciting that there's so much left to do and to figure out. You know, there's a lot of big questions we've been able to tackle so far. Some questions that came with the map. In case I haven't said it, you know, this map that I'm basing Wind Waker Unflooded off of was a map created by Jacob Zachery, the Lorwellian historian. Y'all may be familiar with his stuff and his theories. And this map, you know, that I based Wind Waker Unflooded off of, you know, he made connecting the islands of the Great Sea to some of the landmarks, major landmarks of Hyrule. And so he did a lot of the work for basically the pre-production of Wind Waker Unflooded, essentially, without knowing it. And I've really based a lot of my project off of his. And there's some changes, there's some stuff on the map that, like, you know, isn't there that I've added, or vice versa, or things that I've changed, the shapes of mountains, etc. But a lot of the base landmarks are the same, and I'm staying with that general shape for sure. So that's been a huge help. You know, it's like I can't do this project alone. So much of Wind Waker Unflooded, you know, is my creativity, my decision making, my take on Zelda theories, you know, and that's going through me as a modeler. But I'm not doing this alone, and it's, you know, huge shout out as always to my collaborators and people like Jacob Zachery that I'm basing the map off of, and other theorists that have talked about Wind Waker and its landmarks and how they're connected to Hyrule. People like Zeltic, right, that have done videos about, you know, how Kakariko might be related to Windfall Island, etc. You know, just this kind of discussion as a community is what makes a project like this possible. It's not just me. So, you know, shout out to my collaborators as well, and people that are directly working on this project. You know, I'm not the only one doing the 3D modeling for it. You know, people like CallumsArmy and Depika, these are people that have made possible the creation of Wind Waker Unflooded. So this is really a group project, and I thank you all for being along for the ride. You as an audience as well, and commenters, y'all make a difference on this project. So anyway, I've been rambling enough. People call me Ramblin' Joe. I think that's it for the video, y'all. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, this has just been a little bit of work on the Botanical Gardens of Hyrule Castle Town. Let me know if you have any new ideas for the area there. I'd love to incorporate those into the gardens, into the park. So let me know what y'all think. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video. I'll let you go.